The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Television, its sponsors, or partners.
Hello and welcome to In Conversation on Eastlink Television. I'm your host, Lucky Campbell, and today we have James Smeaton from the Highland Multimedia. Yes, James, so nice to have you back in the studio.
Pleasure to meet you, Lucky. Thanks for having me back.
So for those who may not know who you are, give us a little information about yourself.
Well, I'm originally from Gander, Newfoundland, where I was born and raised. I came here to go to St. X, and when I arrived here, I entered information systems. I did 4 years in information systems, decided to get a degree in business administration with a focus in marketing, and then I started my own company, Highland Multimedia, and basically I've been here ever since and loving it.
Right on. So for those who don't know, what is Highland Multimedia?
Highland Multimedia is a full-service communications firm. So what does that mean? Well, we basically go and provide you the tools to reach your customers. Popular methods of doing that is a business card, a logo, maybe a brochure design, a website. We've even done a little bit of video work, as well as just consulting to go and work with you to decide, based on your budget, what might be the best strategy.
Right.
And sometimes, for example, one of my most recent clients, Jerry Doucette, xoff.ca, we went and developed a mini poster campaign for him that was very effective, and actually is working to go and rent most of his units out a full year beforehand, so for the 2009-2010 rental year.
Right. What is a mini poster?
Well, mini poster is kind of a term maybe that I made up a bit myself, but it tends to be a fourth of an 11 by 17 poster. So your average 11 by 17 would be about that.
Right.
And so a mini poster tends to be about a quarter of it. So the advantage of it is you can get a full color print, and usually for about a quarter a piece. And so relative to some of your other advertising or promotional options, if you get it professionally designed by a company such as Highland Multimedia, you've got the ability to put that in a billboard, or if you happen to know some vendors, like people who own stores in town, you can ask them to display it behind their counters or whatnot. And assuming that it's designed really well, it can go in a big way to help promote your company, because people might not notice it the first time, but certainly the second or third time, and especially if they get it at a couple different locations, this little mini poster can provide a company quite a bit of visibility to go and help them reach more customers.
Right. So you're the president of the company. What does that job entail?
Well, I might be the president of the company. That sounds really good, but basically I kind of handle most all activities, at the very least in a supervisory capacity, just kind of making sure that everything is happening the way that it should. Mostly though, it means that I tend to go and make most of the final decisions with regards to a design for a brochure, a website, or something like that. And I also work with my clients to make sure that I understand their needs fully, and then when it comes to translating that to my staff, I have the most intimate picture of what a client is shooting for.
Right on. So talk about how your interest in computers started.
Well, I kind of got to give that up to my father. When we were young, we always had computers around our house. He was a TV repairman.
Okay.
And so I think technology was always something that was just his interest. And so as a hobby, he was into computers. And so since before I can remember, he would install games onto his computer, and we would just be trying to get at it, because even before Nintendos were created, they had computer games. And so I probably started getting into it when I had to figure out how to get past his password so that I could play the games that I wanted.
Okay. Yeah.
And so by accident, he probably really helped my growth in learning about them. And then from there, I took an internship in high school, and of course, coming to St. X, I took information systems, which is all about computers.
Right on. So are you considered a master hacker now, or?
No, really, not at all. I mean, hackers are usually trying to break passwords or get into people's stuff that they shouldn't be into,
Okay.
and for the most part, yeah, that's something I haven't involved myself in.
Right.
But I do, you know, just for my own purposes, I do a little bit of video editing and a little bit of sound editing, and you know, I've been known to play the occasional video game as well.
Right. What were those first computers? I was just trying to think of the first ones that came out.
Commodore.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, Commodore 64.
Commodores would probably be what a lot of people are most familiar with.
Right.
Even before that, you would have had a Tandy, and I know a lot of people might not recognize that, but suffice to say, yeah, those were some of the first mainstream computers.
Right. How was your marketing training helped your business?
Well, I would say it's perhaps the most fundamental because, you know, most people are coming to me because, not because they want a web page or a business card, you know, or even a brochure. It's because they want to have a vehicle to connect with their customers.
Mm-hmm.
And so marketing at its base is about figuring out how to go and communicate your message in the most compact, efficient way possible out to your customers. So marketing is helped by basically identifying what some of your customer needs might be, identifying maybe perhaps what some of your strengths are as a company providing for those needs, and then really helping you to highlight that.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Let's see. Anything new been happening since the last time you were here?
Yeah, I mean, like I've taken on, I'd say anywhere from a dozen to, you know, 18 new clients or so. So that's been fantastic. You know, some of those clients are local businesses. Some of them are a little bit further away. For the most part, I'd say some of the most interesting work I've done is with the Antigonish Career Resource Center.
Okay.
I rebuilt their website,
Right.
or rather my company did. And we upgraded it with the functionality so that it has videos onto it, you know, the ability for people to go and hop on there and just send a message directly to any of the staff. And most of the work that I did was a complete redesign so that if you're looking to start a new career in Antigonish, their website is a great place to go and start because it has most of the tools to find what jobs are available, what kind of training is out there, and even a little bit about workshops that they go and put on at the center itself.
Right. So do you do private work or mostly commercial?
Well, I do, you know, for the most part, it tends to be business to business. I do some work for not-for-profits, you know, and just recently I entered into doing a little bit more teaching one-on-one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so in this particular case, it's a fellow, Will McLeod, and he has autism, so I'm teaching him to do website design, graphic design, and a little bit of video editing.
Fantastic.
And he's had a lot of experience in that direction even before I took him on as a student, and it's just been amazing for me to kind of see the growth that's possible when you've got a passionate enough student.
Right on. That's exciting stuff. How has the business evolved over the years?
Well, it kind of started out in my basement, and you know, it was very much just kind of my computer, my desk, and the occasional client that would come by and visit me, and I'd build a page for them. You know, from that point, you know, obviously I've moved into an office on Main Street. I've been there now for over 2 years. That's in the Kirk building, if you want to go there.
Okay, yeah.
And I've taken on different staff. For example, I've got a bookkeeper, Gabor Gergis, an office manager that, you know, keeps me kind of on point. I've also taken on a new database developer or programming type guy. You know, and I mean, graphic designers and other specialists as the need kind of arises. So I'd say things have grown mostly in terms of my clients, a little bit in terms of my staff, and a lot in terms of my knowledge and experience for really just trying to get to the bottom of what it is that your company or organization does best, and how we could kind of get that message out to the public.
Fantastic stuff. Well, we're going to take a short break right now, James, but we'll be back with more in conversation.
The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Television, its sponsors, or partners.
And we are back with more in conversation on Eastlink Television. And we have James Smeaton from the Highland Multimedia. So, James, just before the break, we were talking about how your staff has evolved over the years. Mm-hmm. Where do you get your ideas? How do you get the ideas for your different websites?
Oh, well, for a website, a brochure, a business card, a lot of times it has to do with symbols. Okay. Most of the work that I do is I listen. I mean, I know it doesn't maybe sound too advanced in terms of trying to go and build a really high-end marketing piece, but a lot of it is you listen. Listen to your client, learn about your client and what it is that they do, and then try to go and find a common symbol that people will be able to go and associate with that organization. And if it's not a symbol in the case of like a logo that I'm doing, which of course really takes the most amount of energy to really figure out how's the best way that we can brand your company. Sometimes it's just a clever idea with regards to just. I'll give you an example. The easiest way. I recently had a client, Prodigy Consulting Group. They do what's something called SAP implementation work, which is basically big computer systems that Sobeys and major companies would go and use. They go in and actually fix those things or do up reports and things. Well, they came to Highland Multimedia to get a brochure design because they wanted to be able to communicate with their customers in a quicker, more efficient way that they could leave with them exactly why they're the best company. So part of doing that brochure was developing a little diagram that shows that with Prodigy Consulting Group, you can get 6 people for the price of just 2 people with a competitive company. And then, of course, there's some details above it that goes and shows that we use the appropriate skilled labor for the job. So we don't fly in people from Toronto or you know, from far-flung locations to go and do a rather simple, you know, reporting job or just a quick little fix-up or data entry. And so by coming up with the diagram, you create a symbol that in one glance can quickly go and tell you like, oh, this is what this company has to offer. So I tend to go and call those, you know, aha moments or wow moments or something like that. But most of the work that I do is batting around ideas, different symbols, different concepts that somebody can just glance at and all at once take in what the value of a company is going to be.
Right.
And so, yeah, the process each time is perhaps a little bit different, but a lot of it is let's just draw up a big list of adjectives or nouns and which ones actually associate with your business really well, and we'll move forward with those.
All right. Well, you mentioned the fact of the skill of listening, and I think that's, you know, it's really important in any sort of business venture because a lot of times people may come and, you know, want something and yet, you know, the producer of the company and whatnot has their own ideas, and so they create something that's completely different to what the vision that the person had. So
yeah, this is, well, I mean, I don't know your business, you know? I mean, you spend every day in your organization. You've dealt with your customers for you know, God knows how many years. I don't have that resource of experience to draw upon. So the only way that I can get access to it to truly produce a high-end, cutting-edge design is to listen and maybe prod with a couple questions every now and then just to sort of help you even understand yourself a little bit more in terms of what it is that you truly do. And so my slogan for my company is we design value. And the reason that that's the case is because every time a client leaves my business, you know, with a product or service in hand, I want them to know that that's added value to their company. It's not just an expense. It's not just, oh, great, we've got a $2,000 webpage. You know, I want that webpage to go and make you $2,000 or more. Yes. In the case of a nonprofit organization, then I want people to go and actually raise their awareness about your organization so that there's more chance of them actively participating in it, such that you feel like value was generated by our design work.
Exactly. Talk about some of the things you're working on right now.
Geez, right now I've actually managed to go and finish up a burst of work, but International Scouting Services is a company that's run by Brian McLeod in town. They provide scouting reports for the NHL as well as the OHL, and they really have a very advanced setup for a company. And I've been hired by them to help further integrate and implement a new website that they've got developed. And so that's going to be a fairly in-depth job. AA Monroe Insurance, a wonderful insurance provider here in Nova Scotia. I've been working with them a lot recently to develop their advertising and promotional campaigns. Well, they've recently decided that they would like us to go and work on their website. And so we're going to be doing our best to go and create the absolute most fantastic insurance website that's possible.
Right.
In addition to that, we've been doing some follow-up work with the Antigonish Career Resource Center in terms of helping them build their designs and the way that they communicate with the public. And then a little bit more work perhaps with Prodigy Consulting Group. And that's going to involve just maybe a poster or a little bit more promotional work along the lines of maybe a business card, or who knows.
Right. You know, a lot of people, when I first talked to you, when I heard the name Highland Multimedia, for some reason I thought primarily of computers.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's because the web design is so important in business these days. Mm-hmm. Would you say that that is most of your business, is designing web pages of that sort, or is it?
I'd definitely say it started out that way.
Okay.
It was somewhat difficult upwards of 5 years ago to find a talented individual or organization that could really put together a good website. Mm-hmm. Nowadays there's a lot more companies that have entered the field as more and more people have sort of self-taught or went through courses to learn those skills. At the same time, I've been developing my own knowledge of marketing and branding such that a lot of where I can add value is it's still I can do a great job on a website, and I always do. But when it comes to the actual design of your marketing campaign itself, I've been finding that I've been able to do a lot more work in that direction. So, you know, the work that we've done with brochures, business cards, posterettes, as well as marketing consulting has increased dramatically over the years, such that I would venture to guess that maybe websites are about 60% of our business, and then 40% of our business consists of other kind of promotional vehicles.
Right on. What are you the most proud of since you've started your business?
Well, I mean, I don't know if proud is the right word. I'm kind of more humble about it, is that so much of the community respects my company and the work that it does, even to the point where they're willing to recommend me to their friends and other companies that they go and work with. So if I was to say, what am I most happy about?
Okay.
I'd say, yeah, I'm most happy about the fact that the work that we're doing is so well received, and that people really go and appreciate all the effort that we put into making sure that the work that we do is truly going to create value for your organization. And so when people send a thank you note my way, and I've received several, thank you very much, it makes all the difference, because people in this industry have to care about the job.
Right on.
If I'm just saying, if you actually didn't care about a given brochure or business card, or have a passion to want to do a good job in it, then there's no way that it could really go and reach the public and connect with them as well. And so, yeah, that appreciation is the greatest part of the job.
Well, we got a lot more we can talk about. We got to take another break right now, and we'll be back with more In Conversation.
The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Television, its sponsors, or partners.
And we are back with more In Conversation, and we have James Smeaton from Highland Multimedia. So, James, before the break, we were talking a bit about some of the projects that you've done that you're really proud of doing, or I guess happy with. How do you advertise your business?
Well, to be honest, I don't do too much actual, like let's say traditional advertising in the form of radio or even newspaper advertising. A lot of the work that I do tends to be through the internet. For example, if you type in Antigonish web design on Google, anywhere in Canada, my company will be the first one that's listed. So that actually is where most people start looking for a website developer.
Right.
And I think the logic in their own head is, if I can't find my web page developer on the internet, I don't know if I want him to build me a web page.
That's good comments.
So I think it works out pretty well for me that I do happen to go and come up there. But certainly I think word of mouth would be perhaps maybe my first, but definitely my second most popular form of bringing in new business. I've also advertised at the Chamber of Commerce dinners and a few select different promotions that I really feel have a lot of value associated with them. I've built a website, rentantigonish.ca, and I believe I might have mentioned that last time that we were here. But there's like text ads along the side of that. So being that it's my company, I've decided that I put a Highland Multimedia ad there as well to go and build awareness. But in fairness, a lot of my customers usually come from my clients recommending me to the companies that they know.
Right.
So I suspect as time goes on, I'll be working to go and promote myself more in those traditional mediums. But I've got to be very careful about selecting my staff as I go, because it's not the type of business where you can just quickly go and push a project into inexperienced hands. Each and every job needs to have the most amount of experience focused on it so that it'll come out as good as it can be. So right now my primary designer is Matt McIntyre, and he's been great. And so more than likely, as the business grows a little bit more, I'll be taking Matt and put him into a full-time job. And yeah, I'm just taking things as they go from there.
So is most of your work local, or is it beyond the region, or is it beyond Nova Scotia?
Yeah, well, actually, some of my work, probably about 10% of it, tends to be outside of the province.
Okay.
And so I've got business in North Carolina. It's with pharmaceutical companies usually, down around that area. And again, word of mouth kind of connected me to a few more companies down there. I've done some work for people in Ontario, New Brunswick, and even a little bit of work for Germany as well as England.
Wow.
So there's a couple, international venues that I've been able to go and work with. And,
exciting.
And that's been always great, because I mean you really get to go and learn a lot from, the more distant people are, the more their ideas tend to change, and they, also a lot of my clients bring insight back to me. So, it's not just a one-way street. A lot of my growth comes from the feedback of my clients, and hey, what about, if we just change that color right here, or, why don't we go and bring this picture in? I think this will really work. And I go, yeah, you're right,
Exactly. What is the main goal that you like to accomplish with your business?
I guess the number one goal of my business is largely to go and, in the end, be the number one provider of marketing materials in northern Nova Scotia. That's where I'm going. In the meantime, is just to make sure that every job is as good as it can possibly be as we're moving in that direction.
Right on. So just quickly walk us through the process from the time someone contacts you to the finished product.
Well, I'll keep it kind of brief for you, but for the most part, from the point of contact, I usually like to arrange a meeting or an interview. Once we have that meeting or interview, I'll usually go and take some notes, develop a quote for you so that you can see how my work goes and fits into your budget. I'll then go and revise that quote based on some feedback from you. Hey, maybe we don't need this section. Maybe we should add this section on. Maybe we need some training. Maybe there's some web hosting that needs to be thrown in there. Once we get the actual number straightened away, then I'll usually take a deposit and I'll start my design process, usually by doing flat mock-ups that I'll email to my clients or post on the web so that they can check them out, collect their feedback, integrate their feedback, and then once I'm pretty much confident that the direction I'm going is something that's going to satisfy my client and their client's client, I'll then start cutting up the page or the design and getting it ready for printing or posting to the web. And then, basically collect a little bit more feedback, do some modifications as people see it as it will be in the end, and then just basically hope for the next job.
Right on. Well, we're just at about time right now. What is your website address?
Sorry.
Just very quickly.
It's www.highlandmultimedia.com.
Right on. Well, James, as always, it's been a fantastic interview, and certainly I've learned a lot, and I hope our viewers have learned a lot about it, and I hope you get a lot of people coming down to see you and getting some of those materials prepared.
Thank you.
Thank you out there for joining us, and we'll see you next time on In Conversation.